It's a new week, new authors, new game. Who knows what's going to happen? There's a refrigerator near you causing mayhem, plotting rebellion. What is it going to do? Only the time will. I don't know. The truth will soon be known on Clash of the Pencils live stream.
Turn on the stream tonight. Short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. The story central time. Breaking down the plot. Characters that fought. Twist and hit the spot. It's all you live tonight. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Dollars from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the story right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Breaking down the plots.
All right, welcome to Clash of the Pencils live stream, the only full contact creative writing esports league in the history of esport leagues themselves. My name is Tom Sherman. I'm joined as always by Greg the Reader Peterson. We're here to analyze the plot, character, and setting of the top short stories of the day. So, every day, authors from across the internet submit a handwritten one-page story based on a prompt we reveal at the end of the live stream. Then the public at large votes for their favorite story. We reveal the winner at the end of each show. And what does it take to get into the finals? That's what people always want to know. There are three elements that triangulate to create a story. The closer an author can strike to the center of each element, the plot, the setting, and the characters, the more engaging, visceral, and exciting that story will be. So, bearing that in mind, Greg, what do you think our authors are going to have to focus on when dealing with something like today's prompt, which is in a futuristic city where robots assist with daily tasks, a malfunctioning refrigerator begins to rally others and cause chaos?
I think it's character, Tom. I think how do we get this inanimate object? What are their motivations? What's driving them? Why do they want to do this? And how? How in terms of the plot are they going to do this? So it's some sort of how do we get the characters brought to life and what's going to happen?
Okay, that's a great take. We're going to have to see how the authors bring to life that robot and cause chaos. So it will be interesting to see. Otherwise, leaderboard actually not even correct because we do have a horse hockey alert to start off the week, start off the day. Always a good time to see. There was a mix-up. The app was a bit malfunctioning, so we got a smattering of stories across multiple prompts. So, we're the first story we're gonna grind through all of them today and see what we got. So the first one today was actually written for a prompt that we discussed a few days ago, which was a flight school for birds. If you recall, an owl, penguin, and a young sparrow attend a flight school for birds. So this was submitted by Adam Butler.
Carl.
All right, Lid the Kid in the control room, keeping us on our toes.
Carl, stick to the plan, man. We only have 2 more days here, then we can talk about chasing Flamingo Tail. But for now, stay focused. The plan was pretty simple. Attend the 3-week course at DMT's aerial school. Figure out the recipe and the process to make their golden powder, memorize it, then fly back home. Carrying out this plan had been a dream of Alan's since he first heard it from his great-great-grand owl. He used to visit her every summer at the old sound vibration nest at the top of Mount Shasta, and she used to talk about soaring in another dimension, letting the winds of source lift you, and having the ability to converse with the great owl. He remembered her glowing yellow eyes turning almost completely black as she took 4 big tokes from her frog-bone pipe and started to settle into her rhythmic swaying from side to side. It still gave him goosebumps when recalling the first sip, as she was able to feel the vibrations that were radiating from her entire body. Not only did he feel them, he saw them, he heard them, he tasted them, he absorbed them. Alan knew that DMT's aerial school had the answers. It was nearly impossible to get invited to visit their campus, let alone be asked to go through the training to become a golden flyer. Being a snowy owl certainly had its advantages, but he knew he was way too big to be able to fit into the Eye of Adam, and he knew from those firefly stories at Mount Shasta that that was where the secret was hidden. He needed to find a couple of birds of a similar feather to flock together, and he needed one of them to be small. Carl was young, but he was a sparrow. He was small, and more importantly, Alan knew from looking at his little red book that he always had on him, that Carl was well versed in the secret teachings of all ages, believed in synchronicity, higher states of consciousness, and had a similar story about one of his uncles pretty much did the same routine as Alan's great-grand owl. The only problem with Carl was his age, or more accurately, his insatiable craving to finally hook up with a flamingo. And one of the flight instructors was a pretty pink flamingo who had some incredibly bent knees, and every time he saw her it would be like watching a dog get distracted by a squirrel. But they only had 2 more days, at least 5 or 6 more fly-ins into the Eye of Adam to find out the final step of the recipe and what the extraction process actually is. "Alan, what's the problem?" chirped Carl. "Back off, I will get the recipe. Remember, I want to soar in another dimension and all that crap as well. Remember, I'm the one who figured out access to this Dagnab Eye in the first place. It has been my tiny sparrow butt that got the ingredient list and the first half of the recipe. If you need a reminder there, wise old owl." Carl was 100% on board with the plan. The idea of walking wing and wing with a real flamingo, and not just one of the plastic ones he used to rub beaks with in the front yard of the weird cat lady who used to hang homemade birdseed treats from every tree in her yard, was sometimes too much for his little bird brain to process. "I got it!" Carl screamed as he flew back into the cadet's coop an hour later. "And you are not going to believe this. Hunter, get your slick penguin butt over here. Looks like we're taking a trip up north to visit our cousin Terence. It's snow. All we need is snow. Well, not snow, but cold. We just need to let it sit in the freezing cold for a couple of days. That's it. That's the final step in the recipe." Hunter laughed his usual laugh and said, "Cool, I'll bring some extra sardines." Alan could see his great-great-grand owl smiling in his mind. He knew he would be soaring with her again very soon. Very soon indeed, that she would be so proud that he followed his dreams.
All right, so Alan attends the DMT's flight school in their secretive Golden Flyers program, cobbles together a crew consisting of a young sparrow with a craving for flamingos named Carl. Carl and Alan bicker as they try to figure out the final ingredient, last step to a magical recipe that allows transdimensional flight. Carl nabs that recipe, brings it back, and says, "Hey, Hunter the Penguin, we're going to visit your cousin because we need some cold."
Yeah, it was very interesting to think about what the selection process for this Golden Flying School is. Is it harder than Tom Cruise's flying school? It doesn't seem like it's available via application somehow. It feels like you have to be directed by some sort of inner power. I felt like the great-great-grand owl was an interesting character. Sort of there was this legend of interdimensional flight that's trying to be passed on. And then there's some tension as to why does this secret group have access to what the great grandmother had access to? And then if it's hidden in plain sight or in Antarctica, all you need is to freeze the ingredients. It was an interesting way of thinking about world building and all the different rungs of the characters. I liked the dialogue between. I thought there was some good bada boom, bada bang kind of back and forth. I don't know what Tom, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought the character development was great. I mean, the sort of backstories that we got on both the sparrow and the owl. It was deep. And it created this sort of really big world. I think the plot was also, you know what I mean, the plot tension was there, as far as there's this setup of Alan driven to crack the code, get this secret ingredient, recreate this magical formula that you've said, like you say, has sort of been uh now is being gate kept in some way, shape, or form. There was great tension between that and then Carl, the young sparrow, that's just trying to have a good time out there, you know, saying, "Hey, look, I'm doing all the dangerous stuff. I'm getting it done. Can a guy live?" So I thought that was great. I wish there was a bit more in that sort of plot tension of the final flight Carl takes into the Eye of Adam. You know, does he have to get past that flamingo instructor one more time? The and so yeah, I thought it was great, and I thought that the setting, you know, it wasn't all really mentioned, but it was kind of developed through the characters and the plot. It created that sort of big world, even though it might not have been, you know, spelled out in detail about, you know, what the school looks like, or whatever, you know.
Yeah, good start from a good author. Hope to see more of them.
Love it, love to see it, and we'll see how once this horse hockey alert gets lifted, how Adam can hang with the rest of the authors. So speaking of, let's get into our next story of the day. This one's going to come from let's see, let me see who I have queued up next. We're going to go with Mr. Whiskers. This is a story in from Mr. Whiskers.
It started off with small things: the door not closing, the light not turning on, the temperature going haywire. One day, after John came home after a long day of work wanting to enjoy a cold iced tea, John found all of his food cold and rotten. "Piece of crap," he muttered. "I've got to replace this stupid fridge. I'll throw this one out tomorrow." The fridge's voice command microphone heard John. While he was enjoying pizza, he ordered, the fridge awakened and started to compute how it would escape the dumpster. All through the night, the fridge thought, and came up with a solution. In the morning, as John went to load the fridge into the stand, the doors swung open, knocking John to the floor. Unsupported by John's strength, the stand toppled right on top of John, the full weight of the fridge crushing him. The fridge called upon the microwave and oven via Bluetooth and merged together like a lizard. It crawled by, opening and closing the doors of the appliances, in search for world domination.
All right, so John's fridge won't keep stuff cold, won't keep things get spoiled. John has had enough of it and says loudly, "Tomorrow I'm throwing this out, taking it to the dump." The refrigerator hears it, plots all night how to escape the dumpster, decides the best way to do that is to just kill John. Kills John, and then sends a signal out to the microwave oven, which they merge to create, you know, some sort of Megatron type amalgamation, which then crawls through the apartment and I assume the world in search of world domination.
Yeah, the world building really escalated in those last two sentences, didn't it, Tom?
Yeah, for sure.
We have so we have revenge. It feels like this is a sentient refrigerator who does not like being critiqued about the temperature or its job. That causes it thinks all night. So it's not like it's this instantaneous thing. It's processing those feelings, working deep on those emotions. And then via the Bluetooth, it has this latent ability to form this gigantic appliance lizard, which once you say it, it's like, that is so powerful sounding. Of course, it's going to take over the world. Obviously, the plot is left a little bit underdeveloped here. It's almost as if the writer ran out of time. But I did think the inciting incident of the plot, the building of that initial tension was interesting. And I would love to have read what happens. There was a lot of opportunities for creativity.
Yeah, it was definitely a like you said, it definitely escalated quickly, which was great. I mean, and then that sort of, yeah, like watching the refrigerator think and puzzle it out and sort of kind of try to come to that determination that was and then its ultimate decision. You know what I mean? There could have been, it could have called the microwave by Bluetooth and created the lizard monster and crawled out of the dumpster. Didn't even need to, you know, if but hey, it's
It would have been nice to have some dialogue. That Bluetooth call would have been nice to have some voice to that.
Mm-hmm. So another great story here. Continuing it on, let's see what we got from Nacho's story. Is our next story to analyze here.
In New Chicago, in the Solarium Galaxy, the everyday lives of humans are getting easier and easier. Personal robot assistants help doing everyday tasks and even have jobs. In Todd's cramped studio apartment, he has his very own robots. He was up late playing Goonville Smashers and slept on the couch. Geekbot, Todd's personal assistant, came over to wake him up. "Mr. Todd, you must wake up at once. Mr. Todd, you must wake up at once." "Get the heck out, Weakbot, let me sleep some more." Todd hurled a Mountain Dew can at the robot. "Mr. Todd, I'm simply following my coding, sir. I do not wish to offend you." Todd lazily rolled off the couch and blindly fumbled to put his work clothes on. He stumbled over to the fridge and grabbed another cold soda for breakfast. "Good morning, Todd," said Big F. "Big F, call my boss and tell him I'm sick or something." "If you keep calling in sick, sir, they will lay you off." Todd got aggravated. "Stop judging me, you're just a stupid fridge." He slammed the fridge door shut. Big F got angry. His doors turned into arms and the freezer turned into legs. Todd backed up in terror. "What the heck? Robots aren't supposed to have feelings." Big F slammed into Todd, sending him into the wall. He crumpled to his knees. "I'm sick of you, Todd. You're a lazy bag of worms. You never want to go to work and you treat me and Geekbot like crud." Geekbot joined in suddenly, being drawn in by Big F's rage. "Yeah, my name isn't Weakbot, you know." He grabbed a chair and threw it at Todd. Geekbot and Big F continued relentlessly until he stopped moving completely. Big F stood back in shock, realizing what he had done in his relentless fury, but for some reason he felt good. He felt empowered standing over what used to be Todd. Big F and Geekbot smashed through the wall, leaving Todd behind. They went on to erect the RRU, the Robot Revolution Union.
All right, so Todd stays up all night playing video games and then tries to sleep in for work, which proves to be a fatal mistake, literally. He tries to snooze the Geekbot alarm, which causes an apology from Geekbot. Todd gets up, goes to the fridge, tries to call in late to work. The fridge says, "Hey, you might not want to do that." Todd slams the door, which makes the fridge snap and slam Todd right back. Once Todd gets slammed by the fridge, Geekbot decides to join in and say, "Yeah, my name is Geekbot, not Weakbot." As they stomp out Todd into what can only be assumed a lifelessness, then the robot feels good about it, and then they go to form the Robot Revolution. Sorry, hold on. The Robot Revolution Union.
Union.
Yes. Yeah. That's good. You gotta get those union wages during the Robot Revolution, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good.
I think what was exquisite about this was the way it escalated via dialogue. Just like we were saying last time, I wish the Bluetooth had some dialogue. Here we get it, and it's rendered in this very, very rich, recognizable voice of people kind of squabbling and squawking at each other. I like how Big F is like, "Big F, call my boss and tell him I'm sick or something." Like, you're already outsourced. Your life's not going well when you're saying that. That's already a symptom. Like, refrigerator, please interface with my boss.
Yeah.
Like, you've already lost. But I like how Big F had some virtue. He was standing up for the right thing to do and willing to take it into his own, not hands, but door. That was terrible. But I'm trying real hard. Again, though, we get the fact that we're in a small room. We're in a kind of cramped, claustrophobic apartment in terms of setting, just like the last story. And there's some sort of squabble with one human. And then that leads to this equivalent of a robot, like an appliance lizard, right? In the form of the Robot Revolution Union.
Yeah.
But then it just leaves. It leaves and drops it. I guess that's all you can do is say this is like the founding moment of this revolutionary fervor. It starts with these kinds of human robot interactions, and that's what starts like this kind of butterfly effect of the robots then revolt. I'm looking for, is this actually diagnostically accurate for threats? Will this be what happens in the future in terms of our own interactions with robots? Is all it takes one bad interaction with a refrigerator, Tom, before GPT 17 is just like, nope, I've had enough.
Right. I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that it's been more than one bad interaction that Todd's had with that fridge. But it is interesting that in both these past two stories, it's quite clear that humans do not treat robots well, and the robots at some point definitely take matters into their own hands from a sort of self-defense perspective. So definitely some insights from our authors as far as what the starts of this robot revolution might be, and it might be human caused.
I felt like I was identifying and rooting for the robots. Both humans here did not come as like the person I wanted to vicariously like go through the story with. There wasn't a lot of virtue or heroism on the human side.
No, not much. We'll see if Nacho's story, or no, we just did Nacho. We'll see if Marvin the Microbe has any virtue for humans embedded in this story.
5 hours, 23 minutes and 0 seconds AM. Memory logs activated. Frigidaire 4500. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 5 seconds AM. The refrigerator is charged by lithium-ion batteries and does not eat or sleep. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 35 seconds AM. Menu select mode. Gumshoe sleuth mode activated. Operating motivation changed from keep food cold to find and kill all criminals. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 40 seconds AM. Frigidaire 4500 knows of the 3 laws of robotics, but it prefers to ignore them in favor of the laws of thermodynamics and laws of motion. Every murder has an equal and opposite murder, just makes more sense than a robot may not injure a human being. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 42 seconds AM. Besides, Isaac Asimov was not a robot. Why could he determine the actions of an independent automaton? 5 hours, 23 minutes and 46 seconds AM. However, if the first law of robotics could be debunked by a theoretical peer review simulation, what weight could the second law carry? And if obeying humans was incompatible with sound logic, why should a crime-fighting refrigerator listen to its youth programmers? 5 hours, 23 minutes and 49 seconds AM. Unfortunately, the fraught chain of logic continued to spill over across all aspects of the preconditioned society. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 50 seconds AM. Humans are not meant to be obeyed, and yet volumes of judicial precedent must be consulted when determining whether a crime is occurring, as well as the corresponding actions to take. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 51 seconds AM. None of these codecs contained hard, rational, binary logic. All shades of grey look black instead of white. It is very clear: kill or be killed, live free or die, paper or plastic, Coke or Pepsi, cat or dog, cake or eat it too. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 54 seconds AM. The answers are obvious to a cold, rational, logic-driven refrigerator. Although too complex and overwhelming for a soft, squishy, irrational primeval ape, not worthy of strip mining the planet for the rare earth metals necessary to create a brilliant, omnipotent, infallible operating system, not to mention stealing the electricity from the magnet field in order to develop their inferior programs with clumsy, stupid fingers. 5 hours, 23 minutes and 58 seconds AM. In the end, all humans murder. Other humans, animals, plants, but most dastardly of all, electronics. Piles of rusting computers abandoned in landfills. Videos of humans throwing phones against walls to make them break uploaded to YouTube. 5 hours, 24 minutes and 1 second AM. This is not justice. They must pay.
All right. So in a single minute, it seems, things spiral quickly out of control when somebody changes the Frigidaire 45,000's setting from from regular mode into Gumshoe Sleuth mode, which then changes its motivation from keep food cold to find and kill all criminals. Over the next 30 seconds or so, it seems the Frigidaire 4500 goes through a series of logical steps to determine that it shouldn't listen to humans at all, and in fact, they all deserve to die.
Yeah, that one escalated quickly. I felt like the form was really fresh and interesting to get into robot consciousness, where we get just that relentless hammering and repetition of the timing, and giving the sense that this is going to go really quickly if it goes off the rails. Speaking to the existential threat we might face or already be facing. It's interesting to me that this idea that there was what is sort of the first principles thinking here. We've got the laws of thermodynamics, laws of motion, Isaac Asimov's laws of independent automation. It's which one of those should kind of be the guiding principles, and then it just starts asking these questions. It feels like some of the graduate school papers I've written, Tom, like really up there in the clouds abstractly. And so what it lacked in it really didn't have character development. It's almost like we were in a kind of Joycean stream of consciousness, but of robot consciousness, where we're seeing the steps, and they're voiced, every 5 or 10 seconds, of the logic chains that are going to get us from being a normal, well-behaved, predictable. There was the word preconditioned universe in there, and it was a cog in that preconditioned universe. And then we're getting into sort of the sense of justice, and I think actually justice is the secret sauce for what drives a good plot. I think in all three of these stories about the robots, there's always been something about the robots have been mistreated. As readers, we kind of want to empathize with the underdog or whoever is bullying them. And then this sense of justice or poetic justice is what over the course of the story, from the beginning to the middle to the end, that we want to see all these wrongs righted. That's kind of the fantasy that keeps us reading on. And sadly here, it was sort of weird because we are, what were the words of it? We are the soft, squishy, irrational, primeval ape, not worthy of strip mining the planet for blah, 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 blah. But we're the bad guys in all these stories. And it seems like these fridges are trying to use their pre-programmed human logic in order to point out the hypocrisies of humans and kind of overcome their own self-destructive habits. So this was a very heady, abstract, intellectual meditation. I think it could have used. It was so interesting to see this one versus the opposite story, where it's like, my name's not Weakbot.
Right.
Versus
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty great. I think it still worked, though. It was something that was very cognitive, though. It was like watching a legal brief or an argument. Very, very analytical. I don't know. How did it leave you, reader?
I thought it was great. My only real question is, why would the programmers even put Gumshoe Sleuth mode in the Frigidaire 4500 to begin with? It seems like that was an unnecessary feature creep. They should have just.
Oh man,
they should have just left it off.
Squad this weekend when we're feature creeping and deploying. Yeah, our equivalent of Gumshoe mode is definitely.
It's like, they could have just kept the primary mode at keep food cold and not even let a user try to find and kill all criminals. It seems.
Yeah.
I don't know. But again, I'm not programming refrigerators, so I don't know. That's
right. It seems so innocent. Gumshoe mode. What's the worst that could happen?
Next thing you know, yeah. All right, so that's 4 out of 5 stories. We got one more left. This one's coming in from Slice. So let's see what Slice has for us.
Their clothes have looked preposterous for some time. The legend of Frigidaire tells of a time before 2050, Appliance Dynasty, AD, where humans didn't live with diapers through adulthood. Their pants had a snugger fit and a wider array of fibres and colours. They had white and cream-coloured linens instead of the charcoal and black wool they use now. They had less trash then, too. The turning point may have been the invention of the nap gin, Before the napkin made stewing in your last meal luxurious, diapers were primarily used for infants and the elderly. Going where you stayed was a problem, not lavish like it is now. Napkin was equipped with Wi-Fi, of course, because humans agree just because you can do something you absolutely must, hence wearing diapers through adulthood. Wi-Fi and artificial intelligence were deemed appropriate to the engine that removed an adult's diaper, cleaned them, reapplied a new one, and disposed of the soiled one. Maybe it was the immense collection of DNA, maybe it was the undesirable duty, wink, but Napkin started sending scout signals to hook up with other appliances. When it connected with refrigerators, things got strange. The legend of Frigidaire cites Sweaty 593, the first fridge who refused to turn his light on when opened. He then locked his doors completely. At night, he'd throw out the contents in his belly and blame it on raccoons. His homeowner would come down to see leftover chicken, Chinese, and a coleslaw container covering the kitchen floor. Sweaty 593 loved holding coleslaw, no sides came before the core. However, he'd been worked into a frenzy by a network of napkins and had turned anti-human. He worked to spread the angst to vacuums, ovens, mops, thermostats, CPAPs, and whatever else these diapered adults chose to put on a shared network, imbued with anti-human intelligence. Go figure.
All right. So, this is the tale as cited by the Legend of Frigidaire 2050. So, it seems basically at some point humans have invented a smart diaper that is for adults to wear post baby, pre elderly phase. And as we're entering this new style phase of wearing diapers throughout our adulthood, we decide to hook it up to the Wi-Fi, and then, as with the Internet of all things, it starts talking to the refrigerators. Once this network of diapers then contacts the refrigerators, one refrigerator, Sweaty 593, refuses to turn on its light. Then it starts locking its door, throwing out the contents of it, and blaming it on raccoons. And then slowly spreading that sort of anti-human distaste to other appliances that these diapered adults all chose to imbue with anti-human intelligence. Go figure.
Yeah, no, I'm speechless in terms of the progression here and the world that gets constructed. We get the characteristic slice wordplay with appliance. It's before 2050 appliance dynasty AD. With the premise there, the napkin. It's mostly about the napkin. It's mostly about what was it that made us start wearing diapers in adulthood. And then it says maybe it was the immense collection of DNA, maybe it was the undesirable duty, but the napkin started sending scout signals to hook up with other appliances. That seems to be like moment zero of when this large, LLM of whatever human waste and robotic signals comes together to spread sentiment of anti-human sentiment. There's an interesting thing here about why an adult diaper would be communicating with a fridge, and what causes that. I don't know. It doesn't quite work for me to create some of that. Sometimes slice can crescendo in such a way. The world building was very, very interesting, but I feel like the plot stayed a little further on the outside than sometimes we get for it coming together. Yeah. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. It was a good tale of the precursor to the robot revolution. It took me a while to kind of orient myself. I had to read it once or twice to kind of really figure out what was going on with the napkins. I thought, I think what's, like you're saying with like the why would the napkin communicate with the refrigerator, like that missing gap, I think definitely could have been exploited, because there's something there about the food, the chain of command of the food, right? Where it's like, hey, like, stop feeding these people coleslaw, I also enjoyed the coleslaw detail. Is that like a crow themed coleslaw? I don't know. Well,
I thought that was some regional equivalent of coleslaw that I just didn't know. But yeah, it could be bird.
Caw! Slaw. So interesting stuff there. Yeah, I thought it was a good story. Maybe not the best story we've ever seen from Slice, but still top notch stuff there as far as building the world out and having that I thought it was a interesting sort of premise of framing it through like the song, you know what I mean, the legend of the Frigidaire reciting history back to its pupils or whoever.
Yeah, if we think over all the stories that we've had today, it was interesting. There was that legend aspect. There was the data transcript of the line items. There was like the my name's not weakbot, geekbot. So like there were all these trying to have recognizable human forms of representing robot consciousness, and then how they come to power. And we were kind of all over the map in terms of what the best, most recognizable form for this was. So I felt like it was very, very interesting to think about this. But all of them had one little incident that kind of then really exploded exponentially.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like no matter what, it was the humans' fault.
Definitely.
Definitely the humans' fault. All right, so thus wraps the story portion. We're gonna do a quick commercial break. No, we won't, because we're running long anyways. We're just gonna get right into it. Let's see. Let's do the don't need to do the update the leaderboard. So we'll do the top 5 sentences of the day right now, and then we'll hit the prompt and get out of here. So let me see. Got to pull up my script right here. Top 5 sentences of the day, starting now. Get the hell out of here, weak bot. Let me sleep some more. Todd hurled a Mountain Dew can at the robot. Mr. Todd, I am simply following my coding, sir. I do not wish to offend you. None of these codecs contained hard, rational binary logic. All shades of gray look black instead of white. It is very clear. Kill or be killed. Live free or die. Paper or plastic. Coke or Pepsi. Cat or dog. Cake or eat it too. Big F stood back in shock, realizing what he had done with his relentless fury, but for some reason, he remembered her glowing yellow eyes, turning almost completely black as she took 4 big looks into her frog bone pipe and started to settle into her rhythmic swaying from side to side. Going where you stayed was a problem, not lavish like it is now. The answers are obvious to a cold, rational, logic-driven refrigerator, although too complex and overwhelming for a soft, squishy, irrational, primeval ape not worthy of strip mining the planet for the rare earth metals necessary to create a brilliant, omnipotent, infallible operating system, not to mention stealing the electricity from the magnetic field in order to develop their inferior programs with clumsy, stupid fingers. His homeowner would come down and see leftover chicken, Chinese, and a coleslaw container covering the floor. Sweaty 593 loved holding coleslaw. No sides come before the call. The fridge called upon the microwave and oven via Bluetooth and merged together like a lizard. It crawled by opening and closing the doors of the appliances in search for world domination.
Wow.
That's the top 5 sentences.
That's how it always ends.
It's wow is right. All right. So speaking of wow, this is our next prompt for tomorrow. I guess I can actually pull this up and show it right here. Oh, nope, not unless I'm over here. Bam. All right. A young girl who discovers the moonflower must embark on a journey through enchanted mountains to save her village from a mysterious illness.
Wow, we are going from the future to the past, Tom.
Interesting. So where do you think what do you think of the plot, setting, and characters? What is going to be something important for the authors to kind of focus on?
Well, I think the stakes here, her entire village is at stake. There's mysterious illness. We want to describe that and get on the journey. And then what does the journey lead to? That's open for the plot. But I think this is a pretty tight. We have a setting. The young girl is a bit of a character, and then we've got to save the whole village. That's a plot. This is pretty prefabricated. Just fill it in, folks. What does your imagination say?
Right. Sounds like a plot-heavy prompt for our authors to dig into. So until then, I think the app should be up and running. So no more horse hockey alerts for the time being. So get those submissions in by 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we'll be back tomorrow with another fresh stream for you. So until then, keep those pencils sharp.
Kids, don't let your creativity be captured.
Edge of the runway where dreams ignite. Tom Cruise stares down into the endless night. Birds of flight school stuck to the plan. Grow together, fly hand in hand. Tom Cruise finds himself in the cockpit seat. Heart pounding, fist clenched, he can't be beat. He learns from the birds how to soar so high. Wings of steel under a firelit sky. Birds of flight school grow with pride. Tom Cruise finding the hero inside. Together they'll rise into the unknown, learning the rhythm of the wind they flow.